I need to be in the festive spirit too.
Excellent.
Okay, so we are live. Can somebody who has the audio in the YouTube stream turn that down, please? Whoever has the stream up, they have their audio playing through the stream. All right, we are live for another Biddle on Saturday night.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Before we go any further, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for showing up tonight and talking to us. It's a pleasure to sit down and every week and talk to you guys. It really is. So,
nice to be here.
Especially the guys that stay up at ridiculous hours, you know, like Popey and EB and PZ, and Yannick is here at ridiculous hours. So,
And Zeb.
Yep. So, thank you very much. All right. This week, we tried out Bunsen Labs.
Yeah.
Or I should say we tried to try out Bunsen Labs. You guys hopefully will have an opinion on it, because I'm going to start out by saying I don't have an opinion on it because I couldn't get it to download. So last week when we tried it, let me silence my phone. Last week when we tried it, I couldn't get the download to work. It was saying that it was going to take 2 to 4 hours to download. I tried the torrent, and that was going to take 5 hours, even though it had 7 seeds on it. I'm not sure exactly what was going on there. So I tried a couple times during the week, and I just didn't have the time to download it or let the computer download it. I had to, shut it down for whatever reason. And then I finally got my man Adam, who is not here, uploaded it to his Google Drive for me so that I could download it. I did that. It was downloaded in a couple seconds. And I go to test it out, and it says it's a corrupted download. So that was my story with Bunsen Labs this week. That's all I got.
You live in a weird phenomenon type area, Rocco. There's something happening in your area.
No need to go there, Colin.
Did you try the different servers? Because
I did.
Okay.
I
Because
tried
I believe
2 or 3 different mirrors.
one of them, I tried the one closest to me. I think the one in New York, and I think I came into the same issue. Just would not download. But I think the one in Georgia worked okay, fine. So
Well, can I get a confirmation from the chat on the sound? Make sure we are all our levels are up there and the way they're supposed to be, and then we'll continue on.
Sounds fine to me.
Do we exist?
There you go. That's all that matters. All right, Popey, did you get to play with Bunsen Labs?
I did. I didn't do it until quite late in the week because I didn't realize I was going to be on until late in the week. But I grabbed the ISO via the really obscure website that has little black square boxes as their download links. Apparently, that's how we do link to download. We don't do big green buttons that say download on.
Nope.
We have tiny little black squares in the middle of the web page.
You know what I did? I just hovered my arrow everywhere on the page to find that little box.
Find a hit item.
Imagine driving into a petrol station to buy fuel for your car and having to find the pump, like and lift things up, like look behind stuff. It's like that's what you're doing. If you want people to download your distro, don't hide it. Like make it.
To be fair, it's a nice intro to the user interface in a sense.
There's minimal, and then there's taking the mic, and that's taking the mic. So anyway,
I figured out pretty quickly. You just click on the red box, and it downloaded. I didn't have any.
No red on that page at all. Yeah. I had to be told where to get it. Anyway, I got it. 1.1 gig ISO, which I thought was quite chunky for a lightweight thing. I chucked it on a USB key and put that in my trusty ThinkPad X61S, which is a Core 2 Duo with 3 gig of RAM. So about the right kind of like low spec machine for this kind of distro. I was surprised that it has 2 boot modes. You can boot in live mode, but you can't install from there. you have to like reboot back out into text mode installer, which is a familiar Debian installer. Nothing strange about the installer. That just worked. After it rebooted and I logged in, the thing at the top triggered me because the clock and the date were all a bit wonky, and it wasn't dead center, and that really annoyed me. And every time I log in and wake the laptop up, the fact that the date and time are like off to the side slightly just annoys me, and I'm sure I'll figure out how to fix that. And it took a while, the first boot, to get from the lock screen to the desktop. After I logged in, I was just sat staring at a desktop, and I thought, has this thing crashed? Is it locked up? Have I not got 3D acceleration? Now, it is a Core 2 Duo. It's only got 3 gig of RAM, but I thought, this is busted. And then sometime later, the desktop appeared. And every boot since then, and every time I've woken it from suspend, it's been fine, which is the first time it was really, really slow. But other than that, it's been great. I really liked the first run thing. I think other people are going to mention that, so I won't mention any more of that. But the first run script was good. It felt very familiar. I've used Crunchbang back in the day, which I believe this is a spiritual successor to.
Yep.
And I've used Crunchbang on very much older, much slower machines than this, and I really liked it. It's really good. It's a nice, familiar interface for anyone who's used Crunchbang in the past, and it's a clean desktop. I really like it.
Very nice. All right, EB, did you get to try it this week, brother?
Yes, I did, but I tried the 32-bit. Okay, I keep it nice and easy for you all, especially for Rocco. Things that I love about Bunsen Labs. Number 1, it's Debian. Number 2, the menu utilities. Number 3, the minimum amount of RAM that it uses. And number 4, it's Openbox. Things I dislike about the distro. Who the hell invented that god-awful green blow aqua out-the-box look? It looked like some 1970s toothpaste advert. Really? Crunchbang is black and white, people. Dead easy. It's supposed to be based on Crunchbang, which is one of my old favourites. Let's have the black and white back, not some toothpaste advertising colours. Anything else I didn't like about it? No. It took me back on a fond trip to the days I used to use Crunchbang, and back in them days to use Crunchbang wasn't that easy. It was easy, but it wasn't that easy. So yeah, okay, but next.
Right. All right. Yannick, did you get to try it?
No, I didn't have time to do anything.
All right. Sorry. That's okay. It's not a necessity. Peter?
I see someone's called me Solar Spider again. That's funny. Okay. I installed Bunsen Labs, no problem. In fact, I'm actually broadcasting from Bunsen Labs. Zoom installed, no problem. The whole distro downloaded and installed, no problem. I've actually installed it 3 times this week. Don't ask why. But
why?
Distro hopping and grab issues and things like that. Huh? So, but point is, I have installed it a few times. It works fine on the Optiplex 755, which I'm using right now. The only real problem I had, and this is more a Debian thing, but it also relates to the distro, that adding the multimedia codecs was a little difficult. I've had to go through a few websites of how to do that, and how it's actually once I added it as a repository, I had to find the key, and it's a little difficult getting the codec set up, especially since I wanted to play DVDs. And so I got that working, and it worked fine. I also tried to install Bunsen Labs on my little netbook here. Bunsen Labs would not install. So I wanted to use the same concept. So I found another distro called Solentos, which is also Debian and Openbox, and it works great on the netbook. So I'm throwing that one out there. If you can't get Bunsen Labs to work, try Solentos.
All right. Was there a specific error that you couldn't get it to install, or just?
It seemed to install, and then once it booted up, it was just black screen and nothing. And I couldn't figure out why. There was no error message, nothing.
Got you.
That was the 32-bit on the netbook. Yeah?
Solentos, huh?
Solentos, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well,
it's Italian. It's a great distro. Actually, the controls are a lot easier to use than Bunsen Labs. The repository for the multimedia codecs was already in there. He's had to install the codec, but it was all set up a lot more easier for the user than Bunsen Labs was.
All right. PZ, I know you loved it.
Well, funny you should say that, because it restored faith in my system because it installed flawlessly. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with my UEFI partitions and my 6 SSDs. It's all these other distros that I've been trying to use that haven't worked, because I've done at least 5 this week and they all installed flawlessly. Now, unlike Minty Scrooge over there, I thought the color scheme was quite good. I found it pleasant to the eye. The only thing I couldn't do, which shocked me because it's Debian, and I must have installed NVIDIA on Debian I don't know how many times. The first time I installed it, black screen. Yeah, great, thanks very much. Remove NVIDIA, do it again from the command line, reboot, black screen. Okay, here we go again, get rid of it. And then I think it was yesterday, I tried it again, and I actually got NVIDIA installed, but then ended up with a Fisher-Price desktop because it wasn't initializing the NVIDIA graphics card. And NVIDIA settings would come up on the screen with just it. Sorry, mate, you're not running NVIDIA. But the actual, when I was running it with the Nouveau drivers, I thought it was great. The menu was quick. Everything was quick. It worked. Steam installed out of the box okay. And I would have loved to have continued to run it if I could get NVIDIA working. And being as it's based on Debian, I'm not quite sure what went wrong, and I just wasn't in the mood to keep trying to fix it. But no, if I can get NVIDIA working, big thumbs up for me for Bunsen Labs.
Very nice. Before we go any further, did anybody have success with NVIDIA drivers?
I'm using NVIDIA.
I didn't even try them.
I didn't try them because the laptop doesn't apply really for what it's not a dedicated card with them. So
okay.
I'm sorry, and what?
Sorry, I did
NVIDIA drivers.
I did try the NVIDIA drivers, but it was the 3.0.19 toothpaste edition, and I assume that's why I got that lovely toilet window effect on the desktop.
Well, according to Red Robbo, all you had to do was follow the Debian wiki, which I'm very, very familiar with, but no, it didn't work. So I might have to revisit it.
He had said he has, I mean, isn't that what he runs on a normal basis?
Yeah, he's been doing it for 6 months, apparently.
Yeah. So he just apparently has no problems with it. I would have liked to give it a try, but... All right, Thomas, you're up.
Okie dokie. So first off, I took a few screenshots that show what I'm about to gripe about, and I'm putting them in the Zoom chat.
Oh boy.
So there's those.
Here we go.
So, do we save yours to the end?
I'm going to make sure it's short and sweet, okay?
Okay.
So if you look at what I sent a screenshot of, you'll see it's the right-click menu. And if you look closely, you'll notice some weird formatting issues with how some of the section titles are over to the right and not to the left. And personally, that bugs the fool out of me. Like, if you're going to make a section title and you're going to indent it, you need to do a hanging indent, okay? I also... In general, I hate Openbox with a burning passion because it's so weird and it's so difficult for me to use because I don't understand it at all. And I know if I used it more, I would understand it. And I do like that it doesn't use a lot of memory, and that's great and all. But why does it have to be so complicated? Come on, man. Although the fact that they use XFCE with it does help that case. So they do have that going for them. The one thing that really bugged me is I noticed it was running a 4.9 kernel. And that's a really old kernel in my mind.
It's Debian.
Yeah, it's Debian.
But most other Debian distros are on at least 4.15 that I've seen.
No. Debian stable is 4.9.
Yeah,
okay.
Anything I've seen
the
based
Buster
on
and
Debian
Sid
is 4.9
distros.
Okay. Well, and maybe because I'm on 4.19 that I'm starting to, pick it going to newer distros, but it still bugs me.
If you go
what specific
that, welcome screen,
there's a section on enabling Debian backports for stretch, and
Right.
that you can install the newer kernel.
Right.
Climate, you're a little bit low on the volume, brother.
Okay.
What specifically is super about newer kernels?
They're supposed to be more secure and have higher performance. You know?
While it doesn't matter on something like this, if I were to throw something like that on my desktop, newer kernels would be very useful for my GPU as well as my CPU because it's Threadripper.
I can understand it from like things like Mesa and AMD stuff. But on a crusty old laptop that's like low end where this could be targeted, I'm not convinced there would be a compelling argument for I must have the highest version number of the kernel.
And wouldn't being as 4.9 is a long-term release, Alan? Wouldn't they have already covered all the mitigations for all of the, things that are out there?
It wouldn't be 4.9, vanilla upstream kernel with no patches. It would be 4.9 with loads of stuff brought back from the future.
Okay. Well, I did like, however, that in that post install script that they allowed you to add those backport repos and not brick your system, because there was one time I was trying a Debian based distro and I enabled those backports and it ended up bricking the system, and I have no idea why, but it did. So, okay, but thanks for not bricking my system. The only other thing that really, really bugged me was if you looked at those screenshots, you'd notice that it's in 1024 by 768, and I have a 1080p screen. Normally, when I'm testing these distros, one of the first things I do is I go into display settings and I tell it to scale up to 1080p because it will fill my whole screen. Bunsen Labs did not have that ability. And I guess it's probably because it's for a lighter weight. It's meant to be more lightweight, but that's kind of a bummer for me.
Was this in a VM?
Yeah, this was in a VM.
Yeah, you just needed to install the Dubry things, the usual stuff.
Usually I don't even need to do that.
The Dubry things, the Dubry danglers.
The virtual box drivers.
How quaintly English.
The stuff. You know what he's talking about. We're
on the same page.
It doesn't play nice in VM, though. I will say that.
Yeah.
It doesn't play as nice, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Thomas, I'm using a 1080p monitor right now, and it's perfect.
For me, it wasn't scaling up. Now, I was having
I'm using hardware.
Okay, so yeah, that's probably why. Because in the VM, it does not want to scale up at all.
Thomas, did you try doing X-Randor on it too and adjusting the size you want? Because that's another thing that sometimes it's a little cheap to get it up and scaling up.
I do not mess with X-Randor. I do not mess with it.
Why? It's the best tool out there.
You should have installed the VirtualBox whatchamacallit drivers that work really.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. When I'm testing distros, because it's going to be such a short time on the VM, I don't even bother because it's just wasted time.
So that's.
You know what's more wasted
that's
time?
That's a bit of your fault, not theirs. Then
when you don't put the effort in, and you still try it, and it doesn't work.
And just a quick heads up, Run with the Dolphins in the chat. Debian.
It's only one E. There's only one E in there.
Mm-hmm. Are we going to have this conversation again tonight?
We'll break.
He was doing so well at the beginning. He did it 4 times correctly. Yeah.
I got to do some comedic relief.
All right, Colin. Did you try Bunsen Labs, dude?
All right. First of all, if you're going to call it Zebra, you could probably call it Debian, right? But it is Debian, right? Anyway, yes, I did try it very late in the week. I was fixated on something else during the week, but I've got it here running on the laptop. I couldn't get it installed under EFI. Did anyone else install it under EFI? I couldn't get
Colin, just a very quick point of information for you. It's called Debian because it was made by Debbie and Ian. Hence Debian, not
That's
Zebra.
right.
Oh, I'm never going to live that one down.
No.
That's all right.
Anyway, where was I? Yeah, I couldn't get it installed under EFI. I don't know why. Must be my EFI, maybe. I'm not sure. But Unlike EB, I did like the colours. I thought it was nice colours. And seems to run okay. I did install a .deb file, the Zoom, that installed. Didn't come up in the menu, but I believe you can use OB menu. Was that right? Or is there another way of doing it? I'm not sure. But seems to work okay. Yeah. No problem with it. Just the installer, Debian installers just seem to be my Achilles heel, I believe. That's all I've got.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
Come on, Colin. You always got more than that.
No, I didn't get a chance to really play with it this week, to be honest. So
what he meant to finish with is the video be coming out next week.
Right.
Yeah.
Dan.
I kind of love it.
Really?
Well, I don't know. It's one of my go-tos. I've got this old 32-bit machine that I keep putting it back on. I mean, I've tried other things here and there, but it's perfect for that. I don't know. I did put it on my. I've got an i5 that's Iron Lake, so it's like a early gen i5, and it worked pretty well there too. Blazingly fast there. I don't know. It's good for the older hardware for sure. I don't know. I don't dislike it. I like it a lot. It works well. I mean, like even this old 32-bit machine, it's only got 1 gig of RAM, but I can still watch a YouTube video if I wanted to in the browser. Yeah. I mean, try doing that with anybody else. It's just not gonna happen. So,
Dan, did you like the reintroduction of the old version of the wallpaper? You know, the one with like the dark either side with the little gems on it that are all so sorry. I thought we're on to Pat 9 now. I thought we'd done Bunsen. Apologies.
But the old themes are there for the Crunch Bang, and so it's a piece of cake to bring those back and get different colors. I think so. I don't know. I kind of like it.
Nice, Joe.
There she is.
It's running.
It's running.
Yeah.
Did you have any problems with the install?
No. Actually, I didn't. And the funny thing is, I cheated a little bit because I was trying to remember. It's been so long since I did a Debian install that I actually watched DistroTube's video while I was doing it to make sure I went through.
Nothing wrong with that.
And I do agree with some of the things Alan said. It seemed like first run took a while to come up when it booted. Where your concerns were with one of the things that was interesting is we went to the direct downloads on Bunsen Labs site, and I originally tried the Georgia one, and it seemed the same thing. It said hours. Then I thought, okay, well, I'll try I think there's only one is a UK or something or whatever that was, and that seemed to be no better. And then ironically, I went on DistroWatch, went on there and clicked through there, and boom, it downloaded like that. It was crazy. And but the install process I thought was okay. I mean, it went pretty smooth, and not being as familiar with it with Debian because it's been a long time, you know. And I think one of the reasons why is because it used to be more daunting, at least for me. I thought, what's the worst thing that can happen? I forget a couple things or I have to start over, and it was fine. And the irony of this is, you're going to laugh at this, is I had my router finally go out. They upgraded my service from 60 to 200 megs, and I knew that the router was only going to handle what it could handle, and it was starting to get spotty last week with it, and then all of a sudden it just went out. So I went out and bought a $250 router the other day, and this thing now I got 220 megs with this thing. So during the test process, my provider, who was Charter, says, "Can you hardwire into the router?" I said, "Well, it's sitting up at the rafters downstairs in the basement." I said, "Yeah, I can run that." So I unconnect the cable, and I grabbed the first laptop I have, and it's this one. And guess what's on it? It's Bunsen Labs that I'm not familiar with. So I plug the thing in, and I get like 80 to 90 megs out of it. And I go, okay, well, maybe it's Bunsen Labs or I'm doing something wrong. So I take Bunsen Labs off. I put Mint on it, checked it with Mint, did the same thing. I said, okay, it's the laptop, can only handle so much. So now I like this so much that not only did I keep Mint on here, but I partitioned it and I'm dual booting with Bunsen Labs. I do agree with changing the themes were very easy. I didn't mind the colors. Unlike everybody's got their opinion. I didn't mind the green, but it's not my thing. So I like a darker theme. I went to a gray background, that kind of thing. The one thing that I found a little bit, I think what this is it's going to be a learning curve. I'm going to leave this on here because I really want to learn it. I do like it. I think it's clean. The clock was in 24-hour. I don't like that. And I'm so used to right-clicking on the clock, changing the properties and going. Well, this you had to go into the Tint 2 config file or whatever and just change it there, which is no big deal once you know where to find this stuff. So I think from a workflow standpoint, I always tell anybody that's on a computer, whether it's Windows, Linux, whatever, your right click is your friend. Well, this basically almost forces you to run your whole system through right click, which is kind of cool. So I like it. I'm sitting here idling at 385 megs. Now granted, I've got an i3 and I've got 8 gigs of RAM and all that, but it's literally sitting here idling at 385. And even when I was running videos and everything else, I don't think this ever cracked over 700, even with running videos and everything else. I'm just really impressed with how easy and well it runs. And I know that when I talked to Derek about trying this a while back, he said, "You're going to like it." He said, "I know you're going to like it." And honestly, I just didn't take the time. But now that I have it on here, I think it's really cool. And I think it's something that everybody should, if nothing else, to learn and try it to broaden your base of knowledge on what these type of distros can do. I'm really excited. And I did try the Crunchbang theme and different things like that and looked at some different ones. And so I'm really interested to learn more about the tweaks. But I probably spent more time on this than I did most distros we do the challenges on. And I really want to spend more because I am kind of excited about it. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, this works better with using keyboard commands anyway, doesn't it? Not just the mouse.
Well, it's got a bunch of defaults for commonly used things for sure.
Yeah, I see that on the side on the Conky. Yeah, that's true. Because one thing I am doing is I'm using a separate mouse because I hate the touchpad on this. That's the one thing on this laptop that I don't like. It's got a terrible touchpad. So.
This is your mistake. You see, what you should have is one of those.
That's exactly something. That's another thing too. I bought one of those this week, and it was not as quite as described when it finally came in. And I immediately sent it back in probably a half an hour after getting it. So I did buy a E530i or something this week. It came.
Ooh, the E series. Ugh.
Yeah.
Wait, do you know how long I had that laptop right there and didn't know that was what it was for? And I kept saying to myself, I don't know why I got to plug a mouse into this laptop.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, if worse comes to worse, we could always hit Popey up for one of his spares, just buy one off him. He'd have
one of the pile of ThinkPads that sit here.
Yeah, exactly. So we can leave you with an even 24 or so, right? But no, that's pretty much it. That's what I can remember. I should have wrote notes down, but I think there's a lot to be learned with this, and I think anybody that wants to try something, it's not for the new user, of course. I don't do that by any means. But Rocco, try going through DistroWatch and see if you have better luck with the download through there. As funny as that sounds, you'd think a direct download would be better. But the foreign download still. I apologize for saying that because I can't remember where it comes from. The foreign to me, the UK one or wherever it comes from, that did seem to go even better though than the direct download, because normally I download James Madison for any other distro from here in the US.
Yep. All right, Dave, this sounds like something that's up your alley, dude.
Actually, I just need you to hit rewind back to where PZ started talking and then hit play again, and I'll lip sync because he said exactly what I would have.
All right, hold on one second. You're a little low, Dave, on the volume, just so you know.
Yeah.
We want to hear your review, dude. We want to hear it.
Hi. Is that better?
A little better.
Yeah. Then I'll talk right into it.
All right, that's better.
just hit rewind back to PZ started talking and hit play again, and I'll lip sync what he said because it installed buttery smooth. I liked it. It ran nice right up until I tried to get the NVIDIA drivers in. And got the black screens, and I could get, back to the command line. And I spent a better part of an hour going through all the different tips and tricks that I know to get it up and running. And couldn't do it, and finally got frustrated and said, "Okay, I'll try something else."
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, I think when we get to climbing, he's going to have an answer for that NVIDIA thing, but we're not there yet.
Team Red.
That's not the answer, Tyler. That's not the answer.
It's a good answer.
It's always the answer.
Come on, Nate. Give us something positive.
All right. So I'm an OpenSUSE user. I use it every day on my primary machines, and I would say that for me, Bunsen Labs would almost make me jump the OpenSUSE ship. I won't, but it almost would. I thought it was great. I enjoyed using Bunsen Labs a lot. The number one thing I really liked about it was there was an install item right in the grub menu when I installed it. Oh, and so I downloaded it using torrents, and I didn't have any problems downloading it. I don't know what y'all's problems were with that, but I just clicked on the torrents. I had them shortly after, actually for the 64-bit. So I thought the installer stepped me through nicely. It was a nice graphical installer. Kind of one question per page. So I thought for me, anyone who has, I think, some minor, at least some technical knowledge, I think could install Bunsen Labs without any problems. The installer kind of reminded me of my Mandrake days, back in the 2004 time, how simple they had their installer, and I really liked that. The color scheme was also very Mandrake Linux for me, so that kind of brought a smile to my face, kind of gave me those warm fuzzies and heart palpitations. And so first I installed it on a VM, and that went well. I liked the post installer script, but we've already heard that. And I enjoyed it so much that I pulled out these old Dell Optiplex desktops, the Core 2 Duo. I installed it on that 64-bit version, and it ran so well. I ran some videos, and it did the YouTube without any problems. And I've had some issues on other systems that were not as bad off, not as old, I should say. And so I was really impressed with how well that went. So I dug out a 32-bit machine, and with 2.5 gigs on it. I clicked on the torrent and downloaded no problem, and I ran the installer on that, and that worked great. I mean, I actually have it running right now behind me, and I've been kind of tooling around with it, playing with some things. It ran YouTube very well at 480p. Anything beyond that, and so I got a little choppy. But I was really impressed with how fast it boots for an old machine. It was less than a minute for it to boot. Logging in was great, no problems there. And so I was actually really excited. I'm thinking, I have all this old crappy hardware, and I have all these ideas that are popping in my head of what I can do with these things. So yeah, I thought it was great. A couple things I didn't like. The partitioner wasn't my favorite. I've worked with many better partitioners than that. It was okay. I mean, it was a little clunky, and I had to think about what I was doing, and I felt a little unsure on some of the steps. But I got through that no problem. And I'm just not a fan of the Openbox XFCE combo. I like my menu bar at the bottom. That's just how I like it. I couldn't figure out how to customize it, and I just kind of gave up because I was excited about other things. So, I've only got so much time in a day, and I had a water heater to replace. So that kind of screwed up my Friday. But it was
the water heater got in.
Yeah, we got in. The Christmas miracle was the water heater sprung a leak while I was home, not at work. So so I'm happy about that. But yeah, I think Bunsen Labs. What?
I was going to say, I bet it was the whatchamacallit that fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, I got a whole new water heater. I upgraded the capacity too, so it was great. A lot of work. I was up late last night. So anyway, Bunsen Labs. That's 2 thumbs up in my book.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Christopher, you're up.
Oh, is my audio okay?
Yep.
Just people said it was kind of bad. So yeah, I've installed it both on VirtualBox and actually on the old crummy laptop. I don't know if you can hear it. It's kind of loud. It's got one core, so that's how old it is. It went pretty well. I think I ran into the installation problems that was described earlier. I think I actually turned it off because when it because it wasn't working, and then I turned it back on, and seems to be working fine just now. It's I think the help is nice for it's a kind of thing that you have to have experienced Linux before. This is not a new time distro. It's like the opposite of stuff like Solus or Elementary. This is like a do-it-yourself kind of thing, and like for example, Openbox. I think the last guy, he said he didn't know how to customize it. There's no GUI you have to do it, if I'm not mistaken. You have to go into the menu XML, right? And you have to edit it. And
there's a GUI.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a GUI? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I was able to play around with it, but not customize, and that's what I think you really would want to do with this kind of laptop, is with this kind of system, is really customize it your own. Like it's like iFree, which I'm using right now on my main machine. Is like out of the box, I don't think it's that great. You have to really just tweak it, just constantly edit the file, reload it, and see what's working until you get it exactly how you like it. And that's the biggest flaw I think I have with this, is it feels very put together. It's sort of how should I describe it? Sort of piecemeal. Like some things are GUI, some things are terminal. That might bother some people, and I think it bothers me because I didn't choose which programs it is. So
Baling wire and bubblegum.
Yeah.
Are you talking about theming though, Christopher, for how it looks?
Partly just the selection of programs. Like one odd thing is I think isn't the default text editor Genie?
Yeah, I found that odd as well.
Yeah, because that's an idea. They would have been better just going with a mousepad or something like that.
Yeah.
But still, I think I give it a thumbs up. By the way, I think the guy who had trouble on on the virtual box, you just have to download all the guest editions. It's really simple. Just sudo apt install VirtualBox.
You can also put in the CD in that thing. And I'll take care of it all.
Yeah.
All right. Very nice. Scott is here.
Yes, finally. Sorry, I was a little bit late.
Did you try Bunsen Labs, brother?
Yeah, and I've got it running, but unfortunately, like everybody agrees, VirtualBox is not exactly the best test bed for this kind of stuff. However, I do have all the guest editions installed, as Christopher was referring to, and I too have to agree with Thomas. Firstly, I can't get it to scale up higher than 1024 by 768. My screens by default are 1920 by 1080. So I popped into Xrandr and tried all the scalable items from 1280 to 720, 1152, 864, all the way up to my normal screen size. Xrandr would not implement any of the ones that I input to force it to scale up. I don't know what that issue is. I don't know if that's attributed directly to Bunsen Labs or the VirtualBox itself. It'll scale it'll scale to full screen, but only in 1024 by 768 mode. So I can still get a full screen out of it. It's just a stretched version of it, which kind of sucks. But it installed. I downloaded with no issues. It installed quite easily, quite quickly. No issues there. But I have to agree with Nate or was it Nate or Christopher that was kind of commenting about the fact that it looks like it's built for a programmer. Very limited GUI. Everything. I like the fact that you can right-click and get to a quick menu of just about everything you would want to be looking for anyway. But when you scroll through it, it's edit this XML, edit that, edit the other thing. I mean, it's everything is about editing in order to customize. So the lack of GUI is kind of disappointing for me. And the shortcut keys, it's nice that it's there in a conky. As long as the conky keeps running and you don't have any issues from it, it's nice to have that there. But otherwise, you know what? A piece of notepaper works just as well. I noticed an awful lot assigned to the super key. So, you know, sometimes you have your super key reserved for other features and other functions. This could interfere a little bit in that respect. But overall, I'd probably have to give it about a 3. It's definitely not a starter package or a starter OS. Definitely aimed toward programmers. Other than that, it's okay with its bumps along the way.
Right. All right, Climby, you have an answer to the NVIDIA issue.
Well, it worked for me.
Wait, he just did it. It works on my machine. That's what he did.
No, I just. Oh, it's funny we talked about the NVIDIA though, because so I used the driver from the NVIDIA website, the binary, and when I was looking to download the driver, I didn't see the 415 drivers listed anymore. And we were talking last week about issues with the 415 drivers in Solus, specifically about the Steam Play thing. Yeah. So I don't know if NVIDIA just completely pulled the 415 drivers or what, but all I see is the 410 and the 390 now. So that's interesting. But no, I just did the, disabled the Nuvo, update the init FS, reboot, go into init level 3. So you're in the terminal, log in, run the bash.run, and install the libc6 i386, which you have to do the dpkg add architecture i386 to get that for the Steam libraries. And no, everything just worked for me on that. The only issue I had with installing it, it installed fine on my UEFI, but for whatever reason, when I went to go boot it through Grub, it configured with the wrong partition. So it was supposed to be SDD5, but instead the installer configured it as SDE5. So when I went to go boot it, it said the partition didn't exist because it didn't exist. So I had to go in, edit that to SDD5, and then it just worked. So yeah, but besides that, no, I love Bunsen Labs. I love Openbox. It's nice. It's light. I like what they're doing with incorporating bits of XFCE into it too, because like the top panel's using like an XFCE type thing. It's using the clipboard from XFCE, the clock, all that stuff. But yeah, and I downloaded it using the torrent, and I didn't have any issues. The 64-bit. But yeah,
nobody had any issues downloading it except me. I know.
It's used to run a flash drive and send it to you, Rocco. It would be quicker.
It would have been. That definitely would have been.
It seems to be a lot of work for something that just works.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to install it on the Asus Transformer book, but that's probably something I'm going to do this weekend because it's nice and light, and I think it would run really well on it.
Yeah, it's perfect for that.
Climber, did you like the Aqua Fresh colour scheme on it? Straight up the toothpaste?
I did.
I did. Yeah. I liked it too.
Really?
I liked it.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't see what you're. I honestly can't see what you're talking about being Aqua Fresh. It looks. I mean, it's not black and white. There's a kind of greyish blue tinge to it. I'm not seeing toothpaste.
It reminds me more of Windows 95 than anything.
Maybe it's about that color scheme.
Where is this guy? Put Vintage Scrooge back in his corner.
To me,
I thought it was very nice. 2003
dedicated toothpaste.
It's a really good.
Is that what it is? Is it beyond its sell-by date? Is that why?
Yeah, pretty much.
I didn't think the color was all that bad. I mean, you guys like all your grays and your blacks and your darks. Have a little color in your life, for crying out loud. I know it rains all the time over there in Britain. Come on.
But I'm not a fan of green, okay?
Well, it's a good thing they had their nice little theme chooser, if you can figure out how to operate it. But I'll talk about that later.
Black and orange seems nice to me. I don't know. Just saying.
I like green.
Yeah, why don't we go mustard green
Maybe
and
partial, though.
Yeah, lovely.
What happened to brown?
Red and white.
All right, Tyler.
Hey, brown is here. This is brown. Anyway, being that it is a Debian-based distro, 32-bit ISOs, I put it on the old netbook.
Nice.
Very little RAM usage. It booted up with only under 300 megs of RAM in use. Works. It's fast. I love the script. Wallpaper choice could have been a bit different, but I had no problems with it. I had no issues with the Wi-Fi on this, and this thing's a Broadcom chipset. I normally have to wire in and install the drivers first. And of course, as typical on this netbook, anytime I open a browser, then it hits the fan and it's unusable. But that's an atom bottleneck. So,
well, let me ask you, all of you guys, a question real quick about Openbox itself. Like, what is? I mean, I was never a really big fan of Openbox, but what is the draw to Openbox? Like,
it's lightweight.
Gets out. I mean,
yes, but there's other lightweights.
It's not big and fat in your face.
You got me. I don't know.
It's minimal. It's clean.
All right, one at a time.
I think you have to go right back. For me, Openbox is the old school version of something like i3. It was a way of having a nice graphical interface that you can map with a metric butt ton of shortcut keys that you were never going to remember in a million years. And it was quick in operation, especially for older 32-bit laptops. It was much quicker to use a keyboard than a touchpad or a mouse.
Right.
I would agree. I'd say it's basically i3 Lite, essentially, because it's so much easier to use than i3. Like, I have a friend who uses i3. Every time he leaves his laptop unlocked, I try to go mess with him, just, light playing around, and I cannot figure out how to use his laptop because it has i3.
I can't believe you would mess with anybody, Thomas.
I can't speak to just a raw Openbox config, but I remember using Crunchbang on on a spare Pentium 3 machine way back, just because it was an old computer and Crunchbang ran fast on it. So I really enjoyed their implementation of Openbox plus the Tent 2 panels. That's why I wanted to revisit it on this netbook.
Tyler, what was the color scheme of Crunchbang?
Black and white.
Black and white.
Monochrome.
And now we've got Aquafresh.
You can change the colors.
Change it.
Someone mentioned earlier that it seemed very developer-centric, and like the fact that it's got Genie as the text editor and the wizard that you get walked through. It asks you, do you want to install like developer packages, compilers, and Git and Mercurial and Bazaar and all of that kind of stuff. So I feel like, yes, the developers believe it is a desktop for other developers, and Openbox is nice in that you, as a developer, you generally want to have maximum space for the work that you're doing, the text editor, and not a lot of fluff and launchers and stuff all over the place. So it's doing what it's designed to do, and it does it pretty well.
And I actually like it because you can use it on its own, or you can use it as the compositor for another desktop.
Yeah.
Because you can actually use it as the compositor for XFCE, and it works wonderfully and adds a lot of capabilities to XFCE that, what is it, XFWin? Is the normal
window manager, not the compositor.
Yeah, the window manager.
Right. Yeah.
And I just want to say one thing before we get on to Dolphin. I do have a plus about this, even though it was very mediocre for me. The fact that all of the Windows the workspaces are available on the scroll wheel, is pretty awesome for anybody that does multitasking to the point that I do, the extent I do. So I can have four whatever workspaces and scroll to any one of them just by moving the wheel, and you're there.
I love the way that the application switcher was integrated with the workspace switcher on the top panel. That was awesome. And
I mentioned that I followed Derek's install, but I remember him talking more about this too. Is I didn't install the developer packages because for me, I figured it was something that I wouldn't ever use. I might do it just out of curiosity to see what's in there, because I remember he said that it took him over an hour to install everything that he was going to go through that process. For me, it installed rather quickly, and I think probably a lot of it's because I did not use that. As far as, a GUI or even your workflow, I know he also referenced, which I agree with, he said, it's for his workflow, being able to have these different things open in different panel windows or whatever makes it a lot easier to get back and forth and maneuver through for him. I know the super key, you mentioned, Scott, about the super key. I mean, you just hit the super key and it brings up the menu if you don't want to right click on your mouse and you start typing in there, whatever you want. It kind of operates that way, like a lot of any other distro does for the most part. So, and as far as a theme changer, I found it actually very easy to use. It just getting used to what the themes did.
Right.
And that sort of thing. As far as manipulating the panel, that's something else I wasn't able to spend as much time on. I'd like to learn a little bit more about that, but it's very different from any other distro in what you're used to doing. This is the way I take it, but I could see where somebody like yourself, Dolphin, or anybody that's into programming, where this would be an excellent workflow to not have, the typical, like we're used to seeing with all the windows open across your bar. You have all your different panels, and it's a whole different method of getting these things. I could see that working very well.
All right. So one last question about Bunsen Labs. Did they do much tweaking to Openbox at all for their setup, or is it just a plain Openbox setup?
In my experience, they did a little bit.
They did quite a little bit, and they've changed quite a few things in from the older version to the newer version too.
Yeah, they did a lot. It's basically like they took all the stuff that was Crunchbang was really cool, and then implemented it into Bunsen Labs. So they've done quite a bit. Like the basic bare Openbox you would get in something like just like Vanilla Debian or Vanilla Arch is very, very different. Like the panel wouldn't exist. Hint 2 is not available by default.
Yeah, 10.2 is not technically part of Openbox. They've just put that on top of Openbox, which gives you that nice. I actually do like the taskbar switcher you can select, like if you've got 3 things open on desk 1 and 3 things open on desk 2, you can actually pick the one thing on the particular desk you want. That's kind of cool. I really like that. You can get a similar effect in other distros, but not the 10.2 implementation was pretty nice, I thought.
Yeah.
Is that what the workspace switcher is called, 10.2? It's
a plug-in on the 10.2 panel.
10.2 is the panel, yeah.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah, I didn't see any XFCE panel, but there's the 10.2 is the main panel that is like the most commonly used for Openbox setups for any distro.
Yeah, they've got some XFCE bits and pieces in here, but the panel's not one of them. It's configured inside .config.10.2 in a XML file, but I think it's XML. But I don't know if there's a GUI for it or not. I didn't pound around enough with that particular aspect of it.
I think there is.
All right, Dolphin, did you get to try it at all?
Yeah, I got it right here.
All right, so let's talk.
And I was going to be on this machine. That's why I was a little late. I was going to be on this machine. I was doing an extreme distro hop. But I was just going to run it live because, whatever. I just do it live. It doesn't pick up the wireless for this machine. So I couldn't do that. And since this machine does not have an Ethernet port, I couldn't install. I didn't want to go through that rigmarole of installing it. I know what I need to do to get the wireless to work, but I couldn't get it to work out of the box. It needs the proprietary WL driver from Broadcom, and the B43s and Debian do not work on it. I already know that. We've got more up to date ones, so I knew that was going to be a problem with that machine. But there's a lot of things I like about it. I liked, despite EBs calling it Aquafresh, I kind of like the default coloring. If you go into their themes, I don't even know what they call it exactly. If you go into their theme switcher, theme saver, there's maybe 5 or 6 variations of the same theme in there. It's a little weird getting to them because they're listed under saved configurations. It looks like it's going to save your current configuration, but if you click this view saved, you get 5 or 6 more in there, including some wallpapers. Although I did lose the Conky, which was a little weird because the one I picked had a Conky shown. I just had to restart the Conky. It was fine. I really wish I could have gone on the internet with it because it's running really well in this machine. This is a 2 gigabyte RAM netbook class machine. I've used it a lot for various testing purposes, but it's a Lenovo S21E, and it's using, now not connected to the internet, no browser running, just the Openbox desktop Intent 2 panel. I'm using 392 megabytes of RAM. I don't know what the thing's doing to be using 392 megabytes of RAM. I just don't know. Annex uses a lot less than that in the same configuration on the same netbook. So I don't know with a similar base. Now, it's not running an Openbox. It's probably, I don't know, I didn't look. It's got Pulse Audio in there. It probably has Pulse Audio. It's got a bunch of other stuff. I don't know. I liked it. It was enjoyable. I wanted to ask a question, though, since I didn't have internet on that machine. When you install an application, does the menu auto update?
I don't think
it did not for me.
No, it does not for you.
You have
Okay,
to run
I couldn't test that part of it, so I didn't know. I did like the fact that if I hit the super key, the window came up, the menu came up. Too many window manager OSs don't do that, and this one did, and I really appreciated that because that's the first thing I do is hit this button right there to make the menus come up. I thought it was a nice implementation. I wasn't put off by any of the theming. I wasn't put off by anything like that. I just I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it. I do share people's frustrations with figuring out how to download the thing. From their, like, I didn't know I had to click the installation tab to find the ISO, and so I ended up grabbing a torrent.
This might sound a little odd. Do you have a wireless dongle that you could try in there just for the heck of it?
It unfortunately uses the same driver, so no, I don't have any. I don't have one for this machine. I figure if I installed the ones from backports, Debian backports, it'd be okay. I just have to download them, put them on a stick, and install them. They should compile fine on the Debian 4.9 kernel. Now, someone asked a question about the Debian 4.9 kernel. It does get updates, which I think maybe Alan addressed. That he mentioned it. I just want to reiterate that they roll all those. Everybody cares about Spectre and what's the other one?
Meltdown.
There you go, Meltdown. Everybody cares about those, but Debian keeps rolling the patches back in the 4.9, so there's nothing to worry with that. I don't know. I thought it was nice. It was smooth on this machine. Honestly, it's smoother on this machine than MX is. Maybe not quite as smooth as Annex is. So playing down here in the low spec category, I get a lot to like here. So Bunsen Labs is doing an okay job, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. I would like to keep. Okay, we had a conversation before Biddle started, where sometimes our weekly distro challenge talk goes way long. So I don't want to kill the flow of the conversation of anybody, but I think that I am going to limit the distro challenge to an hour. So,
Okay.
Michael, you got 1 minute to say anything about Bunsen Labs?
I like how you chose to find
That's not possible
limited
for Michael.
right when it was me.
Calculated.
Thanks, Michael. That was a fabulous review.
Then the minute's up.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll see you next week.
We all talk over it, and he won't get a word.
I mean, I could answer your questions about all the stuff in Openbox because I used to use it all the time. But it's been quite a while. But I used to use it.
I have
for
a question.
Okay.
How easy would you say editing the XML file is? I'm just curious.
I mean, it's not difficult if you are comfortable with editing XML because XML is a basic value or parameter value structure. So it depends
Sorry,
on
Michael. That's all the time you have.
Well, okay. I like Bunsen
Just teasing.
Labs.
Go ahead.
I like Crunchbang because I used to use Crunchbang a long time ago, and when Crunchbang was killed, it was very sad. And when Bunsen Lab was the community edition, basically revamped it. It was it was really nice. So I used it for a while, but it's been a couple of years since I've tried it. But technically since I've tried it full blown. But I did try when they first announced this release was I think April or something. I used it back then, and it's great. I mean, I like Crunchbang structures, so making all of the benefits of Crunchbang in a newer version and keeping it up to date is great to me. But it is not for everyone. It's not for most people. It's not for most hardware. It depends. Like if like I always used the Ethernet with it because the wireless was annoying. You also have to install OB menu, otherwise Openbox will irritate you to no end. If you don't have OB menu, we can hear you, but the OB menu is the GUI to edit entries in your menu. So you need that in order to have if you know the edit applications in other DEs or other window managers, you totally need OB menu. Otherwise, it is very irritating. And OB menu is also the only thing that can there's a version that allows for automatic adding after you install something, but by default, Openbox doesn't do that anyway. So I don't know if OB menu is automatically doing it or if it was a thing that Crunchbang did originally that made that happen. But if you did it in Arch or Debian vanilla, that just doesn't happen. So it's not meant for everybody. It's meant for, I guess, developers in a way, but it's also meant for power users or hardcore users or whatever who want the absolute most you can possibly get while still having a reasonably traditional-ish desktop.
Right.
Is the kernel built for the older hardware? Because I compared a couple other 32-bit distributions, and it seemed like that this one seemed like more tailored or performed better than the others.
It depends because it depends on how old the hardware is, because the later versions of the kernel has removed certain support for various different ancient hardware. So it's if it's 15 years, maybe it depends. I have a computer that's 17 years old and it messes up.
Michael, you said install OB menu. I just checked and it says it's installed already.
Yes, it is already installed.
Right. Well, you should be able to use OB menu to edit it, to edit the menu system, but it's more than likely not by default, because the last time I saw anything that had it was Crunchbang. Or for the automatic, I mean, the automatic setup. This Crunchbang's the only one I've ever seen that did it.
Okay.
All right, that was more than
digital minute.
2 minutes, but I didn't figure any less, Michael.
That was only 4, and you're welcome.
All right, Linux user, is your mic working?
I guess it's working now.
Okay, good.
It certainly is.
All right, it is working. Did you get a chance to try Bunsen Labs this week?
No, because I wasn't on last week for the distro change. I tried installing Arch Labs on the computer behind me, but you can't see it, and it was to a USB flash drive, and it failed. And it's
Did you get any error?
Yeah, I kept getting errors.
Well, you shouldn't install Arch to a USB drive, like a flash drive. It's not meant for that.
Okay. I'm installing Ubuntu to it right now because it's lighter and it'll work.
All right.
Oh, does anyone know any distros that work with Broadcom wireless cards?
Ubuntu.
There you go.
Peppermint.
Funny you should say that, Linux, because the
OpenSUSE
latest version of Peppermint
MX Linux OOTB.
So Bunsen Labs is working with the Broadcom in this netbook.
Okay, I'm gonna try it.
It also depends on which Broadcom.
Yeah. A lot of times you have to install the Broadcom drivers by default, which can be a pain. There have been times where I have encountered, there was a Broadcom Wi-Fi card I had once in a laptop. Ubuntu recognized it and could use it, but the proprietary drivers perform better, but only minimally.
Ubuntu never worked, or any distro I tried never worked with it.
Well, a lot of that depends on the model of the Wi-Fi card that you have. The one that I had, it was a little bit older, so the support in the kernel was a little bit better. But newer Broadcom cards, from what I've heard, are far worse. In general, if you're looking to buy a laptop and install any sort of Linux distro on it, it's a good rule of thumb to avoid Broadcom. Unless you're willing to deal with it. But
Yeah, except if your hardware
pain in
already
the
has
ass
it on
to
there.
4318. I have an old laptop, and I was chatting with Dolphin in the chat and let him know that out of the box, it's the only distro I've ever installed on that old laptop that brought up that Wi-Fi adapter first time without ever having to tweak anything. So MX18, props to that, and anybody that's having problems with a Wi-Fi adapter on old hardware, give it a try.
Yeah, also Peppermint 9 Respin, that's now got Broadcom Wi-Fi drivers out of the box, both 32 and 64 bits, so you might want to give that a whirl.
All right. There is quite a few distros that put out some releases, Dolphin. Just saying. And next week's distro challenge, we have to try one of them, and we already said last week
MX.
trying MX. So
Mhm.
this week's distro challenge will have to be MX Linux 18.
Absolutely.
Well, that's great. I got it already installed. I'm good to go.
Me too.
I've been waiting weeks to say that.
Can we get a download link for this?
Where?
What, mxlinux.org/download links, I think. But let me look here real quick.
Do we have to press a
That's
magic
correct.
box?
There's,
I'm
there's a
gonna
bigger button on there, is there not?
The link is actually touchdigital.com/mxlinux.
MX Linux. Let's see. I'll put the link in the chat.
Sweet. Thank you.
You have a 32-bit. That's great.
Yeah, it's you know, they keep putting out the stuff for it. We'll keep making it.
All right, Dolphin, give us the highlights of what's new in MX 18.
4.19 kernel. We've updated all the firmware. I think the firmware packages are probably we're a little bit off in uncharted territory for Debian stable with the firmware packages. They're way newer than anything in the Debian system outside of like SID. I haven't checked in a while. Maybe that in. At any rate, so that's going to help the AMD guys out a little bit. That's why we did it, because a few of our developers have some of the newer AMD cards that use the AMD GPU driver. So those hopefully work a little better out of the box right now. God, we've updated just everything on the MX tool side. It's some of the stuff we'd already seen before. We got the flag packs in there in the package installer. We've got some new little quick and dirty tools that actually they're links to the. You're distracting me with the.
Sorry.
This is what happens when I sit beside Mike. It's just
right.
all so. There's been new art, new there's that kind of stuff, new artwork and everything. The big one is probably we finally added the Lux encryption to our installer, which technically will work with MX17 if you install the installer directly on if you update the installer before you install from MX17, because MX17 and 18 share the same stretch base. So what we did this time, maybe a little mixed review on it. 17 just kind of rolls right into 18. So right now, if everybody's done their updates, there should be no machines reporting themselves as 17 unless someone installed a beta, never updated it, which actually one of our devs did, and they complained, "Hey, my machine's not updating 18." I was like, "Well, you're supposed to be running not the beta for."
That's an awesome thing though, to have that happen
for a year. He was running the beta for a year and didn't care, so it's fine. I forget what was wrong with the beta. Why we didn't do that.
All right.
So lots of updates to the MX tools. Mesa is updated. I forget the number. It's in the release notes.
18.2
something, which I think the old one for us was 13. So it's quite a hop. Yeah. So those are the biggies.
Two questions for you.
Yeah.
Putting you on the spot.
Okay.
What's your favorite thing that is in MX18 that is put in this round? The
encryption in the installer. We worked. I had my hands in that, and we worked really hard on that. Adrian and I. We kind of went for low hanging fruit with it. So the early implementation is not quite 100% disk encrypted. The system is encrypted, but we leave an unencrypted boot partition. Mm-hmm. We found that to be a lot less problematic than trying to make the boot partition also encrypted. That's on our list. It's just not right now. So we'll get to it eventually.
That's a big struggle.
And what is the one thing you wish you would have got in?
I wish we would have got our new locale tool. You guys haven't seen it. We started it. It kind of got derailed. Something had to drop, so that dropped. What we have right now, the system locale tool, is a shortcut to Debian's dpackage reconfigure locales, which is fine. It gives you the graphical version of that. It's fine for changing like your system language and stuff. It's not quite what we wanted to do, so we'll have to come back to that some other time.
May I just say, I know I am known throughout the universe as the world's biggest peppermint fanboy, of which I really can't try.
You like peppermint?
No way.
I've never heard that before.
But I would just like to congratulate Dolphin and the MX Dev team on one of the best user-focused distros for the desktop. And yes, 32-bit is very important.
Yeah, I've seen your 32-bit videos here lately.
There's still a lot of people on the planet who can't put food on the table and have to use old 32-bit bangers of PCs. So I can't find enough superlatives to throw at Dolphin and the MX team. And I think they really do deserve the number 2, if not the number 1 spot on that crappy chart on DistroWatch.
Agreed.
So seriously, Dolphin, congratulations, mate. You are doing wonders for dumbass users like me on the desktop.
Yeah. Well, appreciate it. I mean, we all know what the DW chart is, and obviously Ubuntu's the big daddy in the room at the moment. So I'm not, I have no illusions about it, what the DW chart means, but I don't care. It's still a nice shot in the arm.
But you know what, Dolphin? All you have to do is give it the peppermint color theme, and you'll get EB over in a minute.
No, you need the Pep 7 wallpaper to do that, Joe. Let's get it right here.
Yeah, there you go.
Apparently, we need to take the time to be the weird Frankenstein combination distro that Peppermint is. I don't know why they make it work. You get the other distributions that tried the Frankenstein approach, and they don't work. They never work. And Peppermint pulls that off, and it's pretty slick. So they got that going for them.
Well,
we just stick with XFCE because it's slow moving.
Speaking of Peppermint, we got what is it, Zeb? The respin.
Peppermint 9 respin.
Refresh.
Yeah. Anyway, that's out. So maybe next week we will try that, Zeb.
Yeah, can do.
Maybe you can alert Mr. Mark Greaves there and let him know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome, I will do.
Zeb,
YouTube chat.
I remember I told you to remind me of something earlier. I was going to ask you this, and I want to see what other people think of this too, because this is not just maybe even for Peppermint. Of course, with building systems for people and stuff like that, I'd like to start putting more Linux on these things, and Peppermint would be a wonderful one. Is there anything in the works besides Ubuntu and Mint, which is an Ubuntu flavor too, that would do an OEM install application? Because a lot of these, you have to you install them and then you put this generic name. It'd be nice if you could have an OEM setup where not only Peppermint but MX or any of those.
So a quick question for you, Joe. When was the last time you looked at the Peppermint ISO? It's been there since 8.
Is it there?
OEM install.
Okay, you know why? Because I just blast past it.
Yeah. And we're not going to lie, we took it from Ubuntu, because how long you've had it for quite a while now, Alan, haven't you? The OEM install.
Okay, well, I apologize for that. Then there's an oversight. But even MX, I was thinking for all of them. I just meant as a whole for all of them. It'd be nice that if somebody wanted to do them as an OEM install. Now, and the other question along with that, because it was a 2-part question, was not only just for being able to do OEM. But I know, like with Ubuntu, they still would like you to have, their permissions and things like that if you're building systems with, or at least they used to. I don't think that would change, correct?
I don't understand the question.
Well, like when you're building a system as an OEM, you buy a Microsoft computer. I hate to bring that in the conversation, and you start it up for the first time, and it goes through an OEM install, and like these Ubuntu flavors will have that as well. But I thought my understanding was with Ubuntu, they still wanted you to have, whether it was being either registered as an Ubuntu distributor or whatever. I don't remember. I thought I read that a while some time ago.
It depends. If you're shipping just Ubuntu on machines and you want to ship them to people, then just go right ahead and do it.
Yeah.
But if you want to modify it, that's where we have the problem.
Okay, yeah, no, I never do that.
If you ship it with something else, like there are people out there who ship it with Skype pre-installed or Chrome pre-installed, and then it's not Ubuntu. because Ubuntu doesn't come with Skype and Chrome. So there are some exceptions, but in general, you can just chuck it on a machine and sell the machine. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's exactly the same with Peppermint. You can just download it and ship it out and install it. Just don't make any changes. Keep all the Peppermint artwork and say it's Peppermint. Because it's not. And if you're going to change it, then you've got to remove all the Peppermint artwork that goes with it. But if you just want to ship it out as Peppermint, it's fine.
And what's more embarrassing about my question with Peppermint is because I've got it on 3 machines. You think, and it's all.
If you've never bothered looking for it, you're like me. You just go enter, install from the desktop.
Yeah, I just don't even think twice about it anymore. So
it's like
you
just agree and go.
If you have a look at Linux and other stuff, videos, he's doing snapshots with MX18. So I believe that you could make your own distro with the snapshot without a name, is it? I'm not sure how that works.
We have a naming convention where we just ask people to label it as a respin. Basically, there's a wiki for it on our page. The only time we've ever really cared what people are doing is when they try to take the name as their own and do things that usually it runs across when you start shipping non-shippable software in the spin. You throw things that aren't technically distributable. We just don't want our name attached to that. You can call it something else. We don't care. Right. And in fact, our installer, one of the things that's new in our installer that's kind of under the hood, you can't see it, is some of the we actually have, you can change the name of the distribution inside the installer. There's a configuration file for that, so you can change a few things, and you can change like minimum drive sizes offered and things like that, and change the name, because it's actually exactly the same installer on MX as it is on Annex. They just look a little different. So we have this back-end theme pack for it. We were actually thinking about using Calamares for the same thing, but it didn't. It was either modify ours or write a module to handle the way we install the live system. So we just kept ours.
See, I think not altering. I agree with this. The idea is I just want to get Linux on machines and start getting them in front of more people that way. And I want them to have the support of the creators of this. You know what I mean? Because anything, if you alter anything, then you got to become the supporter of it. And I'm, nowhere near in that aspect. And I wouldn't want to do that. The idea is I just want to be able to put these on and have somebody boot into it and go through basically an install setup like they would any other machine off the shelf, to be able to put their information in and whatever they have to do and, get it set up the way they want.
Well, I'll tell you a little story about why Mark Greaves decided to install it. We've got a trusted user on our site, and he's set up a 20 PC classroom out in one of the African countries somewhere. And he constantly used to have to keep installing it, mirroring it, changing it, putting all the usernames on. And he just asked a simple question: can I have an OEM install? So Mark checked out what Ubuntu does, and we just built that into the ISO. And he just loves it now. Every time he has to refresh a machine, he just goes in there, types it on, and then he's away. He loves it.
But that is very true. I think a lot of us, and that's probably what it is now, it's complacency a little bit, as you get so used to just doing an install, you don't even look at the menu anymore. You just know right where to go. So as much as that's a little embarrassing question, it's a learning curve here too. So, I mean, it's just that's fine. The only question that's the dumb one is the one that never gets asked anyway.
Is that Thomas on the keyboard again?
No, he's already muted.
That might have been me.
Sounds like we need a hardware.
That might have been me.
Who makes keyboards with airbags?
Oh, the way that Dolphin's microphone was shaking, it looked like him typing.
Alan, do you have anything like that as far as like learning programs and stuff for OEM installs? Like what Zeb was talking about?
I don't know what you mean about learning. I mean, the OEM installer's been in there for years, like you say.
I was just wondering if there was any examples of like he just gave about a school using the OEM install and stuff like that.
Well, it's mostly system people like System 76 used to use it. Well, they still do use it. It's just not their default is Pop OS now, and they've rewritten their installer, so they use their own thing now. But basically anyone who's shipping an Ubuntu machine almost certainly uses the OEM installer. There are some who do things a little bit differently. There was one And this is where we have the problem with you using the name and claiming it's one thing when it's actually something else, is when people ship wonky kernels that are built specifically for that machine, and the code isn't upstreamed and the kernel doesn't get security updates from us. So a user is left with the system that's stranded on a particular kernel version. And if the OEM disappears or the OEM doesn't update the kernel, then the user's left with a insecure kernel. So that's important to us. That's why we want the name to be there, because our security team do put out new kernels whenever we need to, and we look after those kernels that are out there. But like any OEM can just use the OEM installer.
The one thing that was brought up as a comment, which I thought was a very good idea, and I don't know how, again, not being a developer, I don't know what the effort would be involved in doing this, but one of the things that might be more appealing too at getting new people to want to use this is much like, again, comparing to the Microsoft way, they almost, I hate Cortana, but she does kind of walk and talk you through things, is if there was some kind of a little mini video or something that pops up for the person that has no idea what this is, or something that could walk them through a little bit that's either audio and visual a little bit. It doesn't have to be long, just, a little bit, just enough to help people get through it, or even maybe have a tutorial menu in there somewhere that's video audio related. I don't know, again, how complex that would be to do that, but
I guess it depends who your target is. Like, are you targeting an end user who installs their own operating system, or are you targeting the person who is installing the OS for an end user? Because they're two entirely different markets. I think it's not unreasonable to think that end users don't install their own OS. People like us do, but normals don't. They have a technical person for them, like whether it's a family member or a tech at a shop or something. Generally, normals don't install their own OS. And so we should really target those experts and have those experts able to build systems for people, and say, here is a system that's already set up. Just put your name in and away you go. So it probably needs to be aimed at those people, I personally think.
Right.
Well, on that same line of thought, and I don't think GNOME boxes is very popular. Usually people use VirtualBox, but I couldn't get VirtualBox to install one of the systems, so I got GNOME boxes installed, and maybe it's something that was always there, excuse me, and I never saw, or maybe it's a new feature, but I loaded up the OpenSUSE DVD and to install on GNOME boxes, and it prompted me with do you want to enter a username and password, before it even did anything, like before it booted off the disk or anything. So I put that in, and then it automatically started the install of the OpenSUSE DVD and went through it without any intervention from me at all, which I don't know if that was specific to the OpenSUSE DVD or if that was, like I said, a specific new feature in GNOME boxes, but it was actually pretty nice.
I should see that as something that OpenSUSE package in there.
Well, it came up. The reason I thought it had to be a GNOME boxes feature was because it came up before like anything else. Like before you've seen anything booting up for OpenSUSE.
That would be GNOME boxes, because OpenSUSE wouldn't have been able to detect before it actually started the install.
It even had, like, I had my it had the Big Daddy Linux. I had the logo as the user icon picture, and it grabbed that as well. And it said, "Do you want to put your your username and password?" And it grabbed the Big Daddy Linux icon. So I don't know. Maybe somebody wants to test that theory out, and let me know if that's a feature in GNOME boxes or what. But I thought it was pretty cool. All right. Another distro that came out was Linux Mint, and they're going to have to wait till after MX and after Peppermint to get on the distro challenge here. But I find it interesting. One of the things says that Nemo is 3 times faster than before. So, 1, how is that measured? 2, was it really that slow before? And I mean, like, what's going on with that? That was like one of the feature sets. But
it probably was pretty slow because it was a fork of like 3.6 Nautilus, so it had all that extra code.
Yeah, but I always liked Nemo.
I mean, functionally, it's good, but it is kind of sluggish.
Is it
it's exciting.
Is it faster at copying files, or what have they done in the dialogue? Does it just show the things closer together so they don't have so fast to travel? Or something?
This is part of the press release that it says that it's 3 times faster. Like, I don't know if that's a good thing to admit or not. I mean, but
well, that's really
don't
weird,
worry, the guy who was working on it has been fired.
Yeah. I mean, we've had Nemo in PET for quite a while now, and it's never. I wouldn't have said it was slow.
Well, that's what I said. I didn't think it was that slow before, but apparently they've done a lot to it that this round it's going to be a lot faster.
And we got 3.6.5, so I don't know what version they're using, but it's not quicker. It's just what it is. So I don't know if we haven't got the latest yet.
Yeah, it's just
how could they possibly be benchmarking that though?
Well, that's why I said, how do you calculate that?
Stopwatch.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, they might get faster
loading times
on their machines as they're building them too. I mean, you know how that goes. You have something that works on your machine one way, and then it could work completely different on somebody else's. So you're right. How do you benchmark that? But during the development stages, whatever they're doing there, obviously there must have been some sort of a speed increase that they saw noticeable on their end. So whether it works for them, whether or not, I don't know. That could be debatable.
Well, they did this not long ago. I did a video on the speeds of opening up. I think that was Linux Mint. I'm pretty sure. And that was, I can't remember what, that was just their apps opening up, I believe. Their specific apps, I think it was. So they were claiming it was quicker. Didn't seem to be too much quicker. But I have to look at that. They're using Nemo 4 now, isn't it? I believe. I think it's Nemo 4.
I'd have to actually pull up the press release.
I think it is Nemo 4 because it's probably based on, like, they probably have the same numbering scheme of Cinnamon because they're very interconnected.
Okay.
All right. So there's another thing I want to bring up, and I want to get it in, and I don't want it to turn into another YouTube bash conversation because everybody in chat probably heard that a billion times.
Who do we hate?
But recently, EB, you made a decision on your channel, and I'd like you to tell everybody about it.
Yeah, it was a very well thought out, long planned and measured response, i.e. I did it in about 2 seconds flat, as usual. I've been doing quite a bit of game streaming on Linux rather than Linux content. And I've been talking to quite a few other quite big YouTubers, not too Bob like me. And they were saying, you know, Steve, really, you've got the biggest disaster coming up very shortly on YouTube when, you know, Google start trying to literally pull out all the guts of Google Plus from YouTube. It's going to go due south. And I thought, Matt, I always go by this measured response. Everybody can't be wrong. So that's the yardstick I used. And then I had quite a few other big YouTubers I had a conversation with. Some of them said, I'm done. Well, you know, when they say I'm done, that's just clickbait. But quite a few of them are now getting quite concerned. So I thought, well, I'll bite the bullet. So I thought I can't neglect my existing YouTube followers. But for a long while, and I have toured with it before, I wanted to go to Twitch. So I've now bit the bullet. I'm now streaming all my game streams on Linux purely on Twitch. And then my Linux video content and all my Twitch live streams I'll put over to YouTube so the YouTube viewers don't miss out. And the first comment that came up from most people was, oh, the quality is so much better on Twitch than it is on YouTube. Yeah, okay, fine, we can accept that. But what was interesting, I was doing a trucking stream, and the biggest trucking streamer on Twitch is a guy called Squirrel, who's also from the UK, very well-known streamer. And one of his avid followers came onto the stream and said, oh my God, are you streaming on Linux? Okay, who's humping the cat? Really? Can you hear? Who? Really? I'm trying to do something.
PG friendly, please.
Really? Sorry, Zeb. So yeah, this guy jumped to the stream and said, oh my God, are you doing this trucking on Linux? And I said, yes. And he said, because the quality of your stream is so much better than Squirrel's. And of course, Squirrel is sponsored by Asus, and he's got all the latest top end, you know, gaming gear, etc. My PC is very average, everyday, run-of-the-mill ho-hum. So I thought that was a really, really nice comment to just come out with and random. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm very, very happy with Twitch at the minute. It's completely free. I've not put all the shenanigans on it. So we'll just see how it goes. But I've got 110 followers already out of nothing. So, yeah, it's great. So I'm hoping that what everybody is predicting about YouTube is wrong, because I still believe YouTube is the de facto go-to platform if anybody wants anything, whether it be how to stick a nail in a, you know, a wall or whatever. But I always, as I say, everybody can't be wrong, and a lot of big massive YouTubers are now starting to get very worried indeed. So yeah, that's it.
Well, first of all, Zeb, can you post his YouTube and his Twitch channel in the YouTube chat?
Oh, I certainly will do.
I got to ask you, why there's other platforms out there. I mean, not other platforms, but there's other services out there. Like, I know that I use Restream to stream to both Twitch and YouTube at the same time. So why wouldn't you go that route?
Because I tend to find Restream.io is absolutely fine, but it just cannot reproduce the raw quality of a direct connection to the Twitch servers. Now, again, bear in mind, I'm only talking about gaming here. I'm not talking about, you know, doing a distro review or anything else. And that's primarily the reason why I do it. Not only that, I don't know. I'm just losing it. I'm losing it. It's not only that, I also find it quite difficult to real-time chat when you're simultaneously streaming to two separate platforms. I just find it a little bit more messy. So I just think, you know, in order not to neglect the YouTube, you can export direct from Twitch. You know, it's a one-click affair. It's easy enough to do. And again, I just find doing that is better than raw live streaming direct to YouTube. And also, the final factor for me was I just wanted to bring gaming on Linux to a whole new audience. So if you're going to have a stab at doing that, how cool would it be to see a big PUBG streamer or a big Fortnite streamer suddenly come on and say, hey, I'm streaming on Ubuntu, mate, or Arch Linux or something. I just think it'd be really, really cool. So that was it, really.
Well, I will say that the Restream part of the whole putting the chat in both places and trying to get that to mesh together, Michael, you can attest to this, that it's not up to where it needs to be.
Works fine for me now. It took only 3 months to get it to work fine, but hey, works fine.
Yes, but I'm talking the setup process as well. I mean, there's nowhere where it's
insane, like
where it's laid out or anything.
You have to just hope that somehow the bot like triggers YouTube to say, "Hey, do you want to make him a mod?" Like, yes, now it will work. Otherwise, it's impossible.
Yeah, because it didn't trigger that for me.
Yeah, it took me probably at least 11 streams before I could finally catch the single message that I have to get it to activate. And it's just a random Twitch comment that pops up. And it's not every single comment. It's just someone randomly pops up. But I would say there is another reason to do Twitch for the mainstream and not for the like the recordings. You could take the recordings and put them on the thing. They still actually kind of against that. But it's actually against the terms of service of Twitch to do so. So if you restream, you automatically cannot be a partner. You cannot be an affiliate. You cannot make money on Twitch. You have to be exclusive to Twitch in order to make money from Twitch.
Wow.
You can take your content and move it to YouTube, but I think there's like a week delay for their partnership system.
I agree with Steve with the restreaming where you do lose something. I think it's a bandwidth thing or something, because you do see that there's a quality drop on many of what I've watched for people that restream stuff.
My frames are awesome.
Yeah, we heard that today while you were doing your
right. It's perfect every time.
Yeah, until you reboot.
Yeah, I have to reboot and start over.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had problems restreaming to both Twitch and YouTube. But if you look at, if I just restream to YouTube, it looks fine. If I just restream or if I just stream to Twitch, it looks so much better. So there's something with the algorithm that Twitch doesn't do or that YouTube does. The streams definitely look better on Twitch.
Now, are you using Restream to do that, or are you going directly to Twitch?
If I can do both. I can go straight to YouTube and it looks fine. I go straight to Twitch. It looks so much better. If I use Restream, to me, they both look the same, but Twitch is so much better. So I don't see that degradation when I go to both.
Yeah, I don't see much degradation either.
That comes back to, again, you're the one creating or doing it. And when you're as a person who's watching while it's happening, that's when I. Are
you saying we're biased?
Sometimes where you'll maybe get a little more graininess, or you get a little chatter once in a while, or something like that. And I'm talking about when you're streaming to both platforms at the same time. Some people do it to both platforms.
Well, that could be due to Restream servers as well.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, EB, I wish you the best.
Yeah.
Live streaming on Twitch, man.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rocco. Well, I'm going to try it for 6 months. I'm going to stay on it for 6 months. Of course, I am keeping the Twitch completely free, so I'm not interested in partnerships, making money or anything else. And it's just an experiment, just to see if we can get some new faces onto the Linux platform, as I say, streaming a few games. I just think there are a few Linux streamers already on there, but they are very, very few and far between. So, yeah, thank you very much, Rocco.
Yeah, and I signed up as a follower to you too, Edie.
Oh, bless you. Thank you very
and I
much.
would just like to concur, and I look forward to seeing you back on YouTube next week.
Merry Christmas, Zeb.
I would just like to apologize for my microphone apparently cutting EB off a few times. I didn't even realize the microphone that was on that was doing that.
No, that's okay, Dolphin.
That was not a cat, so to speak.
I thought it was a new little utility you released in MX18. It's called Let's Mute EB Now.
Yeah, that's what that was. I've been using I didn't realize the laptop mic was on. I haven't been using the big mic at all.
If you have got that, can we nick it for Pep, please? So I can, every time we're streaming, I can just go mute.
It just has a blanket term search in the stream feed.
Well, I would also like to mention something else about EB's channel is the conversations that they have over there with PZ and Garth, and they have some really good conversations. When do you do it, EB?
Usually every Wednesday-ish, with a solid pre-planned agenda, as Zeb will attest to.
What time do you usually do it?
It's usually between 4:30 and 5 p.m. GMT.
Okay.
And if you want to hear absolute nonsense, please join in.
No, I do have a shocking announcement to make, actually, and this really will rock the world.
Mm-hmm.
Zeb and I have already had a conversation. Alan, I'm so sorry that your arse is dragged right into this. There's a game that Zeb has got me to buy, which is called Golfing with Friends.
Yes.
And we are whipping up a little UK team, which is going to be Zeb. He doesn't know it. I do apologise. It's going to be Alan. It's going to be me. It's going to be our Sudo reboot. And Zeb and I have already concurred that, unfortunately, our gorgeous USA cousins are going to get their backsides nailed to the wall.
I think me and Michael would have something to say about that, EB.
Yeah, the only problem with that, Rocco, is we're banning aimbots, so you're pretty much stuck out of the box. So I'm hoping, Rocco, that you can nail yourself together a cracking little USA team, and sometime after Christmas or between New Year, we can get a right cracking live stream on with the USA versus UK. Poor old Alan.
AB, do you consider me British or American?
Say again.
Do you consider me to be British or American?
Who's saying that?
It's Peter.
Mint Spider, British through and through, mate.
Oh, well, yeah. Soulless, you can take my spot, dude, because I can't even find the pin on the first tee. So, I mean, no worries. You can drop right in. So, yeah, I mean, if you can consider yourself UK, Team GB, whatever you want to call it, hell, some people even call us EU.
Yeah, but is this going to happen after the ATS competition we were talking about that hasn't happened yet?
Yeah, but what ATS? Because multiplayer is rubbish. Just doesn't work.
That's the only reason I've not done the Sunday night trucking again, because it's so bad on Linux. Because it's it's an up the elephant round the castle workaround. And Nabist, bless him, who's terrific, does a great job, but the ordinary person's not going to do it. So I would really just like to announce that Team GB are, or UK or Europe, whatever you want to call it, very confident that our poor old cousins in the USA, Team Rocco, are going to get mullered.
Can I just point
Rocco,
out,
having played both St. Andrews and Carnoustie and Glen Eagles, I will gladly join you and whoop their butts.
Well, I'm going to
point out I do actually own that game, and I will smack the ball into the sky every single time. I'm absolutely terrible. So
yeah, can I just say it has no resemblance to golf whatsoever.
Michael, Michael, you here?
And the fun part of the game is not actually trying to get your ball in the hole; it's stopping the opponent's ball from going into the hole.
So there's going to be a lot of shenanigans going on.
Outstanding.
You might want to consider the PG-rated certificate here. That's all I'm going to say.
Is that available on Steam?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
And it's not, you don't need no like high powered machine for it.
It's like $5.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Oh,
it's awesome if you're playing with people
yeah.
We had this conversation, Rocco, because I was talking to Zeb about the Vikings, I think Ryan and a couple of you other guys. And I said to Zeb, the reason I was so keen to see him stream it as part of a group is because I think the Vikings game on its own is probably quite good. When you put it into a group and you got the banter going and all that, it just takes the whole game to a new level of experience, I think, or pulls it down depending on your point of view.
Now we have a blast. Michael plays it, and we'll play it with another guy, Bunny, and we have a blast. So definitely gonna have.
So
to
that's
make
the
that
idea,
happen.
anyway, guys.
Definitely gonna have to make that happen.
Can Switzerland join the?
Okay, so on that bombshell.
Yannick, you gonna join them?
If Switzerland can join the UK team to make like a EU team, or actually a non-EU, ex-EU.
Well, actually, you're not in Europe, so
no,
Brexit,
I'm not in
so
the EU.
that's perfect for us. Yep.
Okay. Send me the link and I get the game.
Carl Schneider, you're gonna join the US team, right?
Of course, definitely.
Yeah. Well, if anybody's interested, the Steam Winter Sale is on right now. So
It is for sale.
It is for sale, and there's I think every game on my wish list is on sale as well. So
nice.
You can definitely pick up some good deals there right now.
So I could have saved myself. Is that what it's called? Golf with your friends?
Golf with your friends. I could have saved myself £1.50. I spent a £5 on it last week.
It's $3.99. Yeah, it's $3.99.
It was also on sale during Black Friday, if I'm not mistaken.
It's £3.11 now.
Joel, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. How about yourselves?
Oh, just another Saturday night talking about Linux and gaming, and anything else that comes up.
Yeah, so funnily enough, I just installed, just got on the browser because I just configured my new SSD on my laptop and finally figured out how to dual boot again.
Nice. Filthy dual booter, as somebody else would say, but I am as well. I can't. I mean, look, there's too many. Look, Dark One, Matt, he said it, I guess he put it the best way. There's too much money involved with the amount of games that you have on Steam to not dual boot. Like, I've spent too much money on games over the years to just say, oh, well, I'm not going to dual boot. So,
well, I don't think it's for gaming. Mine's just mostly quote unquote enterprise, e.g. university will not officially support Linux for their printing system. But
right.
There's a way around that.
You sure? Because I checked with the vendor and they are not interested in supporting Linux. It's called Pharos, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, everybody.
Got to piggyback on something.
If I may just jump in very quickly, I've got a very cold body. My wife's body is very, very warm in bed. So I've had a long day at a wedding. PG. So I'd just like to wish each and every one of you and everybody in the chat a wonderful, peaceful Christmas with much love with your families. Enjoy yourselves. I'd like to say a massive thanks to Rocco for the greatest Linux platform show on the planet. And I'd just like to apologise once again to Mr. Alan Popey Pope for dragging his arse in, kicking and screaming, into golfing with friends. As that term is highly debatable. The friends bit, I'm saying. So I'd just like to say thanks to everybody. It's been lovely to spend some time with you. And you all have a fabulous Christmas. Much love, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Christmas.
Cheers now.
Mate.
See you.
Adios.
Yeah. All right. Is anybody picking up anything on the Steam sale? Come on. Give.
I'm probably going to end up purchasing Tomb Raider since it's like $3. And,
Very nice.
And I have the hardware to run it, so why not?
Well, I'm wondering how many of these games you could actually pick up that might run with Proton as well. Like, I mean, there may be a few Linux games out there that
Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
I mean,
I think that what's going to end up happening is, so there's of course that unofficial database of things that we know works with Proton in varying degrees, and we have all that documented. I think with this winter Steam sale, that number is going to jump from, like, what is it right now? 3,000, 5,000 games that are documented on? Something like that. I think that's going to jump by a lot because, you know, people like their money, and now that they don't have to spend as much, they can go get those games and try them more. So we can figure out, like, oh, hey, all these other games are known to work, or all these other games are not known to work, and all the stuff related to that. So that'll be nice to know. Would be nice
is there?
Go ahead.
I forget. Is there a Steam Snap? If I'm not mistaken, I tried looking it up, but I don't think there is. Is there?
Is there a what?
A Steam Snap?
No, as far as I'm aware. I think there's a.
Well,
flat
I
pack,
found
ain't
there.
I think it's flat pack though. Yeah.
Popey, can you get on that for me, please?
No, actually.
There's actually
because I'm on vacation. So no, I'm not going to do that.
I'm not sure what's going on with that.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, you got
there was a
drowned
Steam
out.
for Windows Snap.
Yep, there was. It was a prototype, and it came out before Proton existed. Because we thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could just run Steam for Windows on Linux, and then you could launch your Windows games from there? Then Proton came along and made this completely pointless. So there's no point having Steam for Windows really when Proton exists.
Yes, but would that have better success than Proton in certain
No,
games?
because we'd be bundling a version of Wine, whereas Proton is like bleeding edge, designed to support specific games, whereas Wine is general purpose. So no,
Have you guys
Proton's the best way to go.
Have you guys heard about the update that's going to be rolling out to Windows here shortly? That's basically a copy of Snaps.
No idea what you're talking about.
I don't know.
So there's a new thing coming to Windows here soon called Windows Sandbox.
Containerized, yeah.
Yeah, where it basically does more or less the same thing, where you can run a Windows app inside of a sandbox and have it containerized. So if you have an app and you're afraid that it might have a virus on it, you can run it inside that containerized shell or whatever you want to call it. And
so you're saying we were right.
I'm saying that Linux tends to do things before Windows does, and Microsoft tends to go like, "Huh, this sounds like a good idea. Let's copy paste this into Windows." And
yes, but you know that there's going to be all kinds of issues with that. I mean,
definitely. And because
let's copy that and make it awful.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing
I'm
is,
fine with that.
The way it works from the sound of it is, so everybody who has used Snap knows that when you install Snap, it makes the containerized thing and installs it and all of that for you, just like apt would. But with Windows, the way that Windows Sandbox is going to work from the sound of it, it's going to be like classic Windows style, where you have to go download that Windows the executable itself, and then make the sandbox yourself, and then run that app that you just downloaded in that sandbox yourself. It's just really, guys.
I mean, this is more like a Docker container or even like a fire jail or something like that, more than a snap. I mean, a snap's a self-contained
Yeah.
whatever universal package. This sounds more like just a containment area.
It more or less is, because it.
Why are we talking about Windows again?
I don't know.
I don't know, because they're doing stupid stuff over there.
Because of those
Big
dirty
Daddy Windows
booters.
Thanks, Tom.
They just need to
Appreciate it.
stop copying us. Like, in all honesty, just if you
They've
use
been
Windows,
copying Linux for a while, so
they have.
And now they're copying Google with their Chromium announcement they recently made. Oh crud! The browser wars are on.
Oh great!
So Chrome is the new IE6.
Apparently,
Actually, I think IE it's still available for enterprises, if I'm not mistaken.
From what
I still use it at work.
Yeah.
From what I understand, IE is more or less depreciated at this point. Like, it still exists in case you need it, but
I still use it at work.
I use it.
I feel sorry for you.
There's some
I have a question.
Hey,
about
websites that actually use IE.
Apparently, you can install IE through Wine.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to torture themselves.
Older versions.
Exactly. Apparently, it's for the masochists out there.
I think Explorer 8 or 9 or something like that, as high as it goes. I think I could be wrong.
Yeah.
11. It's 11.
11. Oh, okay. I'm wrong.
Just never use 5. Never ever use IE5. Even if you have the opportunity, do not touch it ever. It is extremely vulnerable because of a weird bug forever ago.
We're still talking about.
I still like Netscape Navigator.
Really?
I prefer Firefox because it's already in the apt repos and it's already installed on a lot of distros, and it runs on Windows if I have to have it. So,
I raised the candidate to Vivaldi. Awesome Chromium spin, and now you can do a picture-in-picture video.
see, the one thing that I've always wanted. So, does anybody here have a Chromecast or cast anything at all? Okay.
I've got both versions, the old and the new.
It's been sitting in a drawer for many months. I haven't used it.
Okay, so many of you who have casted stuff are probably aware of the fact that if you have Google Chrome or Chromium on your computer, you can cast tabs from that browser to a Chromecast or some other casting devices.
Yeah.
Not just tabs, but the entire computer or the entire browser.
From what I understand, with my experience with Chromium, is just that one tab. But I digress. What I really want is a Firefox spin that implements that functionality. Because with my OS, Draugr OS, I want to use Chromium because of that feature. But I don't use Chromium because Firefox is actually smaller when I was deciding which one to use, and Firefox is more secure. So I ended up using Firefox instead of Chromium. But if I can find a spin of Firefox that has that feature built into it, I will immediately switch to that because it gives you that functionality that is amazing. So you can actually have then Draugr OS like on a desktop somewhere else in your house, and you can just be like, oh, hey, let's cast this to the TV in the living room. Yep, watch it on your TV in the living room. Happy.
Just get the thing that, I would recommend Vivaldi because it's made by the OG Opera team.
Well,
you didn't include the size.
I was having issues
How big
with
is
getting
your ISO? I forget.
3.5 gigs. And
I don't think it's the size. You can do anything else you want, but at 3.5 gigs, the size of the browser is not going to make that big a change
You would be surprised.
I'm not going to be 5 gigs surprised.
My ISO, the software I use to make my ISO will not allow my ISO to be over 4 gigs. If it hits 4 gigs, I cannot build that ISO.
Well, the browser difference is not going to be 500 megabytes.
Well, I'm trying to cut down on size wherever I can because
XC compression. If you really want to shrink the ISO down.
Well, here's the thing.
You can say anything you want about between Chromium and Firefox, but don't sit there with a 3.5 gig ISO and tell me it's about the size of the browser.
Well,
you're bound to be able to cut 500 gigs of something else somewhere else.
I can't compress the size of the ISO. That's the thing. I have to just.
It's already 3.5 gigs, but that's okay.
No, it's not that. It's because of the way I develop my software. I have to use a specific Mycroft. Why? I'm sorry, Microsoft is being
You were talking about
stupid right
Firefox and
now.
Chromium.
Anyway.
How big are they? They're not that big.
There is not a huge size.
You said size. I'm just saying size. Now, you guys
Okay.
can rip me apart next week on MX Linux, and I won't care. I will love it to death because I love all you guys, including Thomas. But that was a statement. That was.
Here's the thing.
I'm done.
I have to watch my application sizes and stuff like that with my ISO because the way I develop Drugger OS is in a virtual machine. That's the only way I know how right now, and I know I need to move away from that, and I'm slowly working towards that. But for right now, Drugger OS, when I'm developing it, runs in a virtual machine. I make my changes, and I use System Back to build the ISO, which is why System Back is also the installer. And because of that, I cannot make my ISO more than 4 gigs, and I'm stuck with the size of the ISO that I have.
Sure.
So
can you make a minimal installer, possibly? Make a minimal ISO and then have, like, here are some suggested apps that you can install.
Here's the thing about that. Like, I like the idea, don't get me wrong, but I've already cut out so much. Like, if you were to go install Drugger OS, one of the first things that you would recognize is there are no Office apps anywhere except for a basic text editor, and that is it. And the reason for that is because LibreOffice is so big. If I had LibreOffice or WPS Office or whatever else in there, it would take up so much space. It's also why there are no games pre-installed, because those games take up so much space.
Games are huge. I'll give you that.
Yeah, like if it were up to me, I would have Open Arena and Mind Test and the pinball game from Windows XP installed through Play on Linux in it. Because let me tell you,
I'll help you out. I'll cut you 8 megabytes off your size, which on a compressed ISO is going to be less than 1 megabyte, because that's the size difference between Chromium and Firefox. 8 megabytes.
Well,
so I love you. I'm sorry. I'm a little punchy because
This sounds like a great match. I like it.
Hey, we talked about IE. You opened it up, man.
I have a Firefox question for you guys. Rocco, you know how when we were on Discord playing Ballistic or one of those games and you'll get the static, sometimes they'll come and go. It's that squelchy static. I've had issues with Firefox, or especially let's say if I got Chromium going up and I want to go into some, whether it's Facebook or whether I'll use and it's not always container tabs either. I notice with container tabs, it seems like it slows it down a little bit, which is probably expected a little bit, but I'll get that same kind of static if a video starts playing. Or even now, it seems like even if I just open up Firefox, it'll get that squelchy static. And sometimes I can get rid of it by playing with the pulse audio settings. Most times I can't. I just got to shut Firefox down. At its worst, I've had to reboot, but that hasn't happened too much. But it's still annoying. I just wonder if anybody else has experienced that.
No.
Well, I've experienced audio issues with whenever I reinstall my Linux OS, where if you don't play audio for a long period of time and then you play audio, for some reason the audio pops into your headphones. I've experienced this on, I think, Mate and other variants of Ubuntu. So I'm not sure if it's just me or if it's just a power issue. From what I've researched, I think it's a power up issue with the sound card.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I'm on Mate when this happens. When I'm on PEP, it doesn't.
Does it for me.
All right, so I would love to continue the conversation, but we're going to run long. So everybody gets a last word. Opie.
Wake up.
Damn, put you on the spot.
I've finished installing MX Linux on the X61
ahead of the game
about Windows. So something productive has come out.
Very nice. Yannick, last word.
Yeah, I installed the MX Linux on GNOME machines too, so I'm gonna try that, and I will report back for next week.
But are you going to be here next week?
No, I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna be on vacation next week, but I will send you some text.
Dig it. Peter, last word.
I've already tried MX18 or RC and the beta before that. It worked great. I will not be here next week. I'm actually teaching at church the day after. I'll need the time to research.
Okay. Well, you let me know what you send me something and we'll discuss it.
Okay. Right.
PZ, last word.
I've been running MX since 16, and it's an absolute diamond. So I'm really looking forward to the challenge next week. And if you haven't caught it, please watch Destination Linux 100, where the man himself makes a welcomed return to talk about his experiences along with Rob. Great episode. Please take it on.
It was a fantastic episode.
Yeah, nice episode.
Thomas, last word.
It's my favorite one.
Check out DroggerOS at droggeros.ml. And thanks for having me on. Happy holidays. All that fancy stuff.
Is that based on Debian?
Now look here, okay? First off, it is technically it's based on Ubuntu, but same difference.
Oh, it very much is.
Second off, really now. Really, you're gonna pull the pronunciation thing. Thanks.
Colin, last word.
Currently running live MX18, so looking at installing that today. Also, Rocco and all the guys here, Merry Christmas.
Thanks, man. Joe, last word.
Yep. Thank you again for having us as always. And the same thing. Have a very Merry Christmas. Those who celebrate and those who don't, that's fine. But enjoy the season, and I hope you have a very blessed holiday.
Dave, last word.
Thank you, Rocco. Happy holidays to all. And to our English cousins, beware my putter. It will cause you to
Beware the putter, people. That's right.
Savage.
Nate, last word.
Hey, thank you very much for having us, me. And it's a lot of fun. Merry Christmas to everybody. It's my favorite time of year, except for summertime. And, we'll see you next week.
Take it. Christopher, last word.
Thanks for having me on. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Sorry, did you hear the phone call I got in the middle of the conversation? I just want to know because sometimes I get calls. I'm using the phone app, so I just want to make sure that you don't hear that.
No,
you don't?
I don't think we did.
No.
Okay, good.
A lot of other crazy noises, but not that.
Yeah. Okay, so great. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Sorry I didn't talk that much. I always feel like I don't contribute much, but I always enjoy the conversations here, even when I'm very quiet. So thanks anyway. Remember to press the like button and hope to see you some other time.
Christopher, you're always welcome, man, even if you don't say a lot. All right. Scott, last word.
You're muted.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Keep forgetting inline mute. So anyway, now that I'm done talking to myself, great show as always, Rocco. And I have to give Bunsen Labs a 3 for burn. Merry Christmas to everybody. Looking forward to the next episode, and always a great show. See you guys in the new year.
Climby, last word.
Unfortunately, I do not have MX installed yet. I'm a little behind.
Wow, dude, you usually the first one.
I'm already installing software. I'm like ready.
You are so behind, man.
Stuff the family. I'm not speaking to any of them over Christmas. I'm busy.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't used MX, but I used Memphis back in the day, back in the KD35 days, and I really enjoyed Memphis. Ooh. And I'm a big fan of Antics, so I know I'm going to love it.
I can guarantee you're going to love it because MX is fantastic.
And just want to wish everyone Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yep.
Christmas.
Tyler, last word.
All right. I enjoyed Bunsen Labs. It is going to be staying on that netbook, so I'm going to have to find out something else to try MX Linux on. And Merry Christmas.
Very nice. Dolphin, last word.
I'm going to apologize to Thomas. I'm sorry. I got the Debian thing started, and now I got.
It's all right, man.
I must be in a mood here lately, so I'm sorry about that.
It's all right.
Check out MX Linux, and don't forget, MX Linux has the Annex Live system, so it is a first-class citizen on a live USB. So try it out with your system. I think you like it.
Michael, are you here?
I will say,
here for the last word.
He's exhausted.
Is that like ridiculous that he's not here for the last word?
Digital.com. There's his last word.
Touchdigital.com.
He's the master
there we
of
go.
marketing, though.
Joel, last word.
So I'm continuing my setup of my SSD on my laptop, still configuring everything. Finally figured out how to do flat packs. You can find me at JJ_484 on Twitter, and you can find me on Steam, JJ_484.
Nice. Louis, you got sound? Hey, Louis's been in here for a while, but he hasn't said anything, so I'm going to assume he doesn't have sound. All right. So thank you all for showing up again. You can join us in the Telegram group at t.me/BigDaddyLinux Live during the week and talk our troubles away with MX Linux installs, but I don't think we'll have too much trouble. Half the people got it installed already. But yeah, check that out. And thank you all for showing up. I want everybody to have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Next week, I plan on being here. So I'm not sure exactly, but I plan on being here. That would be the last episode of the year.
Yay.
And that will be an episode where we maybe get some predictions from people.
Predictions. Oh.
So don't miss it.
You're the Linux desktop.
That'll be an interesting episode where everybody gets started early for New Year's Eve.
Yes, 30-second predictions always are the great ones.
All right.
The quaint.
Everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
holidays.
See ya.
Humbug.
That's my thing.